Hey there, how are you? If you have been to this channel before, welcome back. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Ira and I make video essays about different topics while painting something. Today we will be talking about children in the entertainment industry, both in mainstream entertainment as well as in social media platforms such as YouTube. We will begin by discussing topics such as children being potentially overworked to invasions of privacy. And as we continue on with the video, the themes that we will be talking about will become substantially more disturbing. Assuming you understand what I mean by that, let me just tell you that viewer discretion is definitely advised because we will be talking about some very difficult subjects. If so, without any further ado, let's paint an essay. Children have long been, and surely always will be, a part of the entertainment industry, whether it being in film and television, and on newer social media and entertainment platforms such as YouTube. We need children in films and television because they are essential to tell specific stories, and as an obvious part of any society, their representation in media is crucial. In regards to YouTube specifically, children count for the majority of viewers on the platform, which is why it's obvious that they also take part in much of the content created. It makes more sense for children to view other children rather than adults, because we see what happens when adult creators make content that is supposedly child-friendly, but in actuality it is anything but. The biggest obstacle, however, in including children in any type of media is that children don't have the psychological, emotional, or even legal capacity to consent to taking part in this content, which is why parents have the responsibility to make those decisions for their children. However, money and influence have the ability to corrupt anyone's judgment and decision-making, parents included. And I'm not making this video to parent shame. I'm aware that some circumstances cause parents to rely on their children for additional income, and in some cultures it is the norm for children to start working at a young age. We are not talking about these situations today, but rather situations in which children in Western countries make the majority of money for their parents via the entertainment industry or social media. And while I'm sure that most parents consent to their children to take part in different media out of the belief that this is what their child wants and only good can come of it, at times their priorities can change drastically when the money and opportunities start flooding in, and many things that would cause the parent to object to the participation of their child in the past will suddenly be overlooked, and this may unfortunately lead to some very dark things to take place. From children being severely overworked to countless allegations in regards to the children's working in actual predatory environments, the very disturbing aspects of some family channels on YouTube, the industry of including children in media had been exposed in recent years as a wolf in sheep's clothing. So after going down several extremely disturbing rabbit holes, I want to discuss my findings with you, so let's dive right in. In the earliest days in cinema, most features won't include children at all, and when they did, they were for the most part used like props. They didn't have agency, and stories wouldn't be told through them. Child parts would often be played by adults, like in the case of Mary Pickford, who was 19 when she played the role of a child in the 1912 silent film, The New York Hat. The first child acting in a lead role was Jackie Coogan, who acted in Charlie Chaplin's The Kid in 1921. Jackie Coogan became an overnight sensation, and according to him, would make $500,000 a year for movies alone, and about $1 million a year, including product endorsement. Child actors suddenly became highly demanded, almost exclusively for roles of orphans or impoverished children seeking happiness, as Hollywood productions understood how marketable their films can be when they are combined with the magic, hope, and tragedy that can be achieved through a child's perspective. From Diana Sarah Carey, aka Baby Peggy, to Mickey Rooney, to Shirley Temple, children in Hollywood became the new gold rush, and parents were eager to get their children into the entertainment industry, both for the massive financial benefits as well as the fame. As the market became more competitive, parents would go to greater lengths to get their child noticed by the industry, and if they were lucky enough to be noticed, they would then be pushed to work extremely long hours and in conditions that weren't necessarily safe. A perfect example is Natalie Woods. Before her days working with James Dean on Rebel Without a Cause or her role as Maria in West Side Story, Natalie was best known for 1947's Miracle on 34th Street, in which which she starred when she was 9 years old. Her mother, Maria, was notorious for her overpowering ambition to make Natalie a star, from moving her whole family to Santa Rosa, California when they were struggling financially so that she could parade Natalie around film crews every day in hopes she would get discovered, plucking the wings of a butterfly in front of animal-loving Natalie in an audition so that she would cry and get the part, forcing her to work on a set on a wild river when her daughter was terrified of the water, ending in Natalie breaking her wrist, which her mother refused to get treated so that Natalie wouldn't be seen as difficult on set, to overbooking her daughter who would collapse of exhaustion. It is true that a lot has changed in regards to work regulations with children in the entertainment industry. There's the Coogan bill, named after Jackie Coogan, who was allegedly robbed of his earnings by his parents. The bill was designed to protect children from being exploited by their parents by ensuring that a percentage of their earnings will be kept in a deposit account, which they will be entitled to when they come of age. There are regulations that prohibit children from certain stunts that may cause them physical harm, and guidelines that limit the amount of hours a child can work on set. They all vary in accordance to the child's age. For example, an infant can't work longer than 20 minutes on set, while a teenager can't work longer than 8 hours. The regulations also vary from state to state. For example, in California, children are not allowed to work more than 5 consecutive days and aren't allowed to miss more than 5 school days per year. As great as this all sounds, this doesn't include the time child actors spend on memorizing lines and even going on auditions in the first place. When you count in the time they need to dedicate to their education and recreational activities or learning skills that will make them more marketable, such as dancing classes and vocal lessons, the load greatly increases. These regulations also don't necessarily protect a child from how cutthroat the industry is for all ages, and unfortunately, it doesn't protect a child from their parents' ambition. Another thing that I was interested in finding out is whether there is a law that mandates counselors or therapists to be on set with child actors to provide them with psychological and emotional support, and unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on that. Despite of these regulations, the connections between having a career in entertainment as a child and suffering long-term psychological issues are often discussed by mental health professionals as well as the actors themselves. When the main recurring theme seems to be exhaustion, stress, exposure to inappropriate situations, the regrets of not being able to experience a normal childhood, and the immense pressure placed on them by none other than their own parents. It is not only in mainstream productions and in Hollywood that children face these risks, however, so let's move on to discussing the controversial topic of internet famous children. It is no secret that child-friendly content does the best on YouTube due to it being the most ad-friendly. This means that this type of content is prone to be the most lucrative content on the platform, hence why many people choose to make child-friendly content and why many see the financial benefit in family vlogging. However, the family vlogging community had been under fire for several years now due to the exploitative nature of their content. You see, inevitably, the core of any family vlogging channel is children, many of whom have their entire lives documented since before they are born in true Truman Show fashion. Most of the content revolves around them, which means they are featured in most, if not all, videos posted on these channels. Seeing as these videos are extremely profitable and relatively easy to make, this encourages parents to post as often as possible, meaning that the stars of the show, aka the children, are constantly working for their parents. Granted, their work environment is hardly a labor camp and can be perceived as extremely fun for the kids. The content often revolves around doing fun activities such as testing out new toys, games, going to amusement parks, trying different foods, etc. Harmless enough, right? Well, the point of contention is that these activities are already driven by a monetary agenda, which leads to several questions regarding the ethics of the parents. What if the child doesn't want to be filmed that particular day or at all? Are they coerced into it with manipulative tactics by their parents? Do these children see these activities as perks or quality time with their parents, things they are given purely to enjoy, or things they have to do? Do they have to smile for the cameras when they don't want to? Do they feel prioritized by their parents? Are they comfortable to say when they don't want to participate? And if they do, will their parents understand them and accept their wishes? As the viewer, we have no way to know with certainty the answers to any of these questions. We can only rely on the parents promising us that none of this is the case. However, we know that people may lie in regards to their life online, and especially in regards to anything they might get criticized for, which leads to a whole lot of speculations, many of which I feel are valid. More obviously, though, is the choice of many of these creators in using the bad moments of their child in their videos, often using these moments for the thumbnail and video title. This is presented to us as the parents being real and transparent with the viewer. However, it is done with complete disregard for the child, in my opinion. Think of it this way. As an adult, would you be happy if someone filmed you crying after a difficult breakup, or your reaction to losing your job, your anger outbursts or anxiety attacks, posted them on their massive online platform for the entire world to see? Probably not. The difference here is that you, as an adult, can tell that person that you don't want to be filmed and don't consent to them posting the footage. If they still went ahead and did, you could potentially take legal action. These children can't do that. If they tell their parents they don't want these moments to be public, the parents may talk them into it because of how profitable each video is. And even if the child still protests, the parents can do whatever they want and the children don't really have a say at all. Another crucial point is that whatever you put online is really there forever. When these kids grow up, there will still be these videos of them online for anyone to see. I personally wouldn't be comfortable with the thought that any random stranger could have access to footage or sensitive information about me as a child. This is perfectly illustrated in channels such as 8 Passengers, discussing in great detail their children's social struggles, hygiene, filming their children when they're sick, crying, and talking to their viewers about personal aspects of their children's lives.
Can I have a conversation with you?
Not the talk, not right here.
Actually, that's what it is.
No, it's not.
No.
Not doing this, not doing this.
Okay, so here, just come sit by me.
It really does sound like the kids enjoy being a part of the vlogs and get milked for views.
Can you not film it?
So I just
And channels such as Stauffer Family, documenting the adoption process of an autistic child from China, discussing that child's medical history extensively, exploiting every aspect of that child's life and notoriously rehoming the child. Channels such as Daddy05, filming what appears to be physical and emotional abuse of their youngest son, etc. All of this content being monetized and bringing massive revenue to the parents. In regards to the Stauffers specifically, many people feel that they exploited their adoptive son for the growth of their channel, and that the decision to adopt him in the first place was with the sole purpose of growing their revenue and online presence. This is due to many videos that give a distinct feeling that the adoptive son was treated differently than their biological children. For example, their decision in taping his hand to stop him from sucking on his thumb to self-soothe while allowing their other children to do the same. How cold and unaffectionate the mother Myka treated him.
Are you done fitting? Are you done? Are you all done?
Are you done?
He's just having a bad day.
And obviously their decision to find a different home for him due to their inability to provide him with appropriate environment for his needs. This, despite of the fact that they have the resources to give him the treatment he needs and give him a good life. Resources many state they have thanks to documenting his adoption. Many theorize that the decision to remove the child from their family came at a time when the views were dropping, and the revenue the child brought weren't worth the expenses of his treatment. In the last few years, the entertainment industry was exposed for numerous cases of sexual exploitation. Unfortunately, this type of exploitation isn't exclusive to adults. This horrifying issue was the topic of the 2014 documentary An Open Secret, and since its release, more actors and people in the industry began speaking about how this was an aspect of the industry everyone knew about yet kept quiet on. One of the production that had been finding itself in the center of this issue is Nickelodeon, which is now known to employ several people charged and/or convicted of child molestation, as well as others who have been rumored to be attracted to minors. The first and most talked about is Dan Schneider, who worked for Nickelodeon as a producer on almost all of Nick's most popular shows such as The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, and more. Despite of multiple theories involving him, Schneider was never charged officially, and no official statement regarding these theories was ever released by Nickelodeon, who cut ties with Schneider in 2018, nor by Schneider himself. That being said, he is the most talked about individual in regards to allegations of sexually abusive treatment, and while admittedly some theories are more dubious, such as the theory that he is the biological father of Jamie Lynn Spears' elder daughter, who she had at 16, others seem more probable. For instance, the theory that Schneider deliberately filmed the kids in his shows in sexually suggestive ways, and also has a very specific creepy fetish. The last is due to his decision of incorporating feet in many programs.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Wow, they're really soft. Nurses, feel these kids' feet. Everyone.
Asking kids to run around barefoot in auditions, and several tweets asking children who are fans of his shows to send him pictures of their feet. Despite there being no confirmation in regards to any of the rumors about him, several former actors who worked with him as children made comments about not liking him and alluding to him being a horrible person. There's this Instagram story by Alexa Nicholas, who worked with Schneider on Zoe 101. Now keep the other names in the story in mind as well. There's also this video of her talking about Schneider specifically.
The entire time. And I don't feel comfortable going into details about what I've seen with Dan or like what Dan is.
I don't like Dan personally.
Jeanette McCurdy, who starred in shows like iCarly and Sam and Cat, claimed to have worked with an extremely abusive producer, many believe to be Schneider.
Easier.
It certainly is. Bad parts. I mean, there's a lot of happens. I worked with an incredibly emotionally producer. Even talking about it now, my face gets hot thinking of it, just because, he'd say things like, you guys would work at Yogurtland if you didn't work for me. And he would just scream.
How old were you?
I was, when I started the show, I was 13.
Then there's this video of Ariana Grande with Elizabeth Gillies on the set of Victorious. Ariana was 16 at the time. Schneider is the one filming the video. Once they see him, Elizabeth gets up and covers Ariana's legs with her skirt. Ariana sits up and covers her chest with her hair, and Elizabeth ends up walking off while looking annoyed and frustrated. This video certainly doesn't confirm anything, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Then there's John Kay, cartoon producer for Nickelodeon on shows such as Ren and Stimpy. He allegedly had several disturbing relationships with underage girls, some of which were illustrators that he contacted with promises of opportunities to work as cartoonists.
John Kay had a tactic, a grooming tactic, if you will. And basically his tactic was that these girls, they were wanting to be cartoonists, and they would write into the fan club of the show. And then he would pick certain girls and he would correspond with them directly, where the correspondences would become icky after a while. And they would always have promises from his end of, a career, that they could come work, they could become big cartoonists working for him in his studio. And then he would go visit them, he would talk to their parents and let them know that this was an amazing opportunity for them in their career. Then he would invite them to come work with him, and then it would get worse, and he would do things with them, and like that one girl where she was like a full-blown girlfriend living with him and everybody knew.
There had been claims made by former employees that John Kay would take sexual Polaroids of at least one of these girls, 14-year-old girl who we will call RB, which he would openly show to people in the office. It had also been alleged that RB would be given alcohol in John Kay's parties, and she would allegedly be so inebriated that she would lose consciousness. Another teenager that began working for John Kay was a 15-year-old we will call KR. Shortly after employing her as a cartoonist, he allegedly began sending her extremely disturbing emails. Jason Handy, in his own journal, allegedly described himself as a full-blown pedophile. While working for Nickelodeon as a production assistant, he would contact children with promises of opportunities. One of the shows he was working on was The Amanda Show. In 2003, he was arrested for lewd acts on a child, sending children sexually explicit emails, and exploitation. Over 1,000 photographs of children were found in his possession that he allegedly took lurking around schools, as well as CP. Brian Peck was another Nickelodeon producer. In 2002, he held comedy boot camps with Dan Schneider. Those boot camps were alleged to have no parental supervision. He was also one of the producers on The Amanda Show. This clip is taken from the channel Revenge of the Sis, who conducted an interview with a former child actress who attended one of these camps.
Of being barefoot. So what would happen is that your parents would send you to sort of like this camp, and you would be separate from your parents. It was an opportunity for the kids to get discovered, and interestingly enough, most of the kids got discovered by the pool. They had a pool, they had like tennis courts, and I believe it was like Megan Fox and other female celebs, and Hillary Duff was another one who got discovered there at the pool. And they would push you to do pool activities because they said that's where you have the highest chance of getting discovered.
In 2004, Peck was convicted for several counts of lewd acts towards a minor that was involved with the show, and was sentenced to 16 months in prison. After he served his sentence, he went back to working on child programs, such as Disney's Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. How is this allowed, you ask? Well, the law has several convenient loopholes. So the fact that Peck was no longer allowed to be around children didn't mean he wasn't allowed to work on productions that include children. Yeah, that makes no sense to me either. He is still working on children's programs today. Martin Weiss was a talent manager who would land children roles in shows such as Nickelodeon's iCarly and Disney's Good Luck Charlie. He was arrested for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old boy. Looking at these people alone, it's clear to see how many of these monsters were working together, often on the same productions and on different levels. As you may have noticed, some of these men were at different points employed by both Nickelodeon and Disney. The latter have their fair share of molestation allegations against executive and staff members. In the early 90s, director Victor Salva was accused by the lead actor in Salva's movie The Clown House to have molested him during the production of this film. Salva was convicted due to photographic evidence of this abuse and only served about half of his 3-year sentence. Despite of being registered as a sex offender, he was then employed by Disney as director of the film Powder. When the producer of this movie became aware of Salva's past with child molestation, he didn't think to even let the cast and crew members know or warn the parents of the children in this production. When Salva's victim protested during the release of Powder, Disney themselves released statements saying that they see no issue with employing Salva. John Healy was the music executive for Disney since 1981 and was charged with 3 counts of sexual abuse of a minor. He wasn't fired by Disney, however, but was suspended until the finalization of the trials, which were finally dismissed. Myka was the former vice president of Disney, who was convicted on 4 counts of first-degree sexual abuse on a 7-year-old, while other victims came forward, but their cases weren't pursued for lack of evidence. He then became the senior vice president of Warner Brothers. Former actors for Disney also spoke out against the abuse they endured on set as children. There's Bella Thorne.
They're being physically abused all the time, having no idea the type of mistreatment that I was still dealing with at that time, that everyone around me saw and did nothing.
Jordan Pewitt, and Ricky Garcia, among others. So if a child is surrounded by so many dangerous people, all of whom seem to allegedly be protecting each other, who can they turn to? We know that some parents withdrew their children as soon as they became aware and took legal action. Could there also be parents that knew what was happening but were afraid their child would be blacklisted for speaking out, or were too preoccupied with the financial benefit that their child's well-being wasn't a priority? Danger on the set aside, Disney have been alleged to silence many accusations in regards to child molestations by their staff in theme parks, cruises, and camps. While it is true that illegal action done by crew members or employees is not the fault of the company itself, and despite of the certainty that those who are attracted to minors will be inclined to pursue jobs around children, it is understandable that things can be missed in the hiring process. However, it is due to the manner in which the company chooses to deal with these actions that, in my opinion, can make them liable. So, going to great lengths to hide these things allegedly really does speak volumes. Unfortunately, it is not only in major productions that children may be in danger. Many videos have been created discussing the horrors of who might be watching family content, as well as the possible nefarious reasons for which they are watching.
I was a woman creating content for other women and their families, and I thought those were the only people watching my videos. And I have made some serious mistakes along the way of the things that I've posted of my kids. I did show my kids in the bath. It was just their chest, and I thought it's a baby, so it's not a big deal, because my mind never went there. I didn't know. And I remember the conversation started happening amongst some of the mommy vloggers. They started to catch wind of the people that were viewing this content. They started making videos about it. We started discussing it. The chatter was very, very small, but I remember feeling very convicted about it. It caused me to start looking at some of the analytics behind my channel.
I found LeBrant family analytics. Their analytics are 24% male. About 9% between 18 and 24. Okay, cool. And another 10% of, so half of their male audience, so 12%, basically between the age of 25 and 64. So it's pretty high.
Statistics show that a portion of adult men watch this content, and admittedly, this might not be for nefarious reasons. If we give the benefit of the doubt, we can claim that these might represent fathers who try to learn something from these videos, or men preparing for parenthood. I am personally an anxious person, and so I'm inclined to believe that at least some of these men aren't watching videos like this for these reasons, and instead watch them with sinister intentions. This, of of course is debatable, and if you believe there's nothing wrong with this statistics, then that's fine. However, looking further into where child content from innocent family vlogs ends up eliminates some of the benefit of the doubt given regarding the audience of this content.
And then I started finding my daughter in these playlists, and the playlist would be called like babies in diapers, which was weird, right? But I started going through the videos and I started seeing that like these were grown men fetishizing babies in diapers. And guys, this subject is so hard to talk about, and I know like a lot of people aren't even going to try to go here because who wants to talk about this right now? This is disgusting. Nobody wants to think about, and especially if you're making money on YouTube and you're showing your kids at the same time, this is like a conversation that we just kind of want to ignore. It was enough to scare me. I found many other playlists with my kids in them, and some of them were just, I don't even want to talk about them. They're just disgusting. I found my kids on message boards, on different websites for men. I just found the craziest things when I started really looking into my analytics, and that was enough for me to say, no.
Taking this already beyond disturbing analysis a step further is analyzing the social media of family vloggers' children. As these channels are brands, they often have separate channels for the children as well as separate social media accounts, which adds substantially to the financial benefit of these parents, as each channel or Instagram profile of their children have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subs and followers.
Let's move on to LeBrant family's daughter. 5.2 million subscribers. Everly Rose, almost my daughter's age. She's 7 years old, makes $30,000 per suggested post. $30,000 for a suggested post on this little girl's Instagram page.
If that isn't enough to make you raise your eyebrow, looking into who follows and views these accounts certainly will.
Now look at her demographics, everybody. 70% male. Lowest percentage is teenagers. So we can just eliminate that. But here we go, 24%, 19%. That's 50% of their male audience of 70% is watching this little girl and is between the ages of 18 and 44.
The horrible thing is that at least some of these parents ought to be aware of this just by taking a look at their analytics. Reviewing the analytics of your social media when it is your main or only source of revenue is arguably one of the first things one does to see how their videos are performing, meaning that those who check their analytics have to know these things, all of which would essentially, allegedly, mean that they are pimping their own children out, possibly putting them in danger, allowing potential child molesters to have archived libraries with videos of these children. I don't believe all parents of child actors or parents who include their children in their social media are in any way complicit or even aware if such things occur to their child. I'm sure that many parents, and hopefully the great majority, do everything to ensure their child's safety and put the well-being of their children first. If you want to have your children in your YouTube videos, Instagram posts, or encourage them to pursue a career in entertainment, that is your prerogative and certainly doesn't make a parent neglectful or bad. However, it cannot be ignored that there are those who will compromise their child's safety and well-being for many reasons. The stereotype of a stage parent willing to go to any length to have their child in the spotlight is not invented, and the charms of fame and financial fortune are undeniably corruptive. There are some parents who I'm sure are unaware of everything we discussed in this video, and there are those, even if they are a small fraction, that are complicit. Perhaps it's true that we can't expect a large corporation to put children's needs before financial benefit, and horrible as it may be, these corporations may brush things under the rug to protect their image, in my opinion. So it is with this message that I will end this video. Be aware of who watches your child on social media. If you are a parent of a child who is or wants to be a part of the entertainment industry, please make sure to always be present in auditions, on set, in camps, etc. If you are told that parents are not allowed in certain environments where your child is, see it as a massive red flag. Lastly, even if you are threatened that if you don't comply, your child will never work again and won't be able to pursue their dream of being an entertainer, it is better if you withdraw your child rather than face the risk of putting them in an environment that may be dangerous. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I initially planned for this video to be about 10-15 minutes long, and this obviously didn't pan out the way I expected. And this is due to the fact that I kept going down rabbit holes and discovering things that I just couldn't really leave out of the video. I hope that you found the topic interesting, disturbing, and difficult as it was. And I also hope that you like the painting process of this piece. In the description box, I will link all of the videos that I used for the research as well as the articles that I've read. I highly suggest you watch the ones of Jasmine Noor regarding the allegations on Nickelodeon as well as the video regarding the allegations on Disney. She goes into a lot more detail. Consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy this type of content. Stay safe and I'll see you next time.